Here's a picture of Zelensky that he had taken with a group of elderly Republican senators in Kiev back in May. They stand grinning next to him in their orthopedic shoes. 70-year-old Susan Collins, John Barrasso, John Cornyn, led by their 80-year-old ringleader, Mitch McConnell. 44-year-old Zelensky poses between them in a skin-tight polo shirt, flexing like a weightlifter and trying to look ferocious. They seem awestruck. Not since a young Fidel Castro showed up in New York wearing battle fatigues has this country's aging leadership class tittered more loudly in delight. They love a man in uniform. What a hunk. So strong and decisive. Look at the expression of Mitch McConnell's face. You can almost hear the giggles of pleasure.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and we can all agree that Tucker Carlson is the absolute worst. It doesn't matter how many rabbit holes his segments go down, he is always saying the worst and dumbest things that he could possibly say. Here, for instance, Tucker's first argument against the establishment figures in the GOP are that they are aging. And I don't know if anyone has told him lately, but Donald Trump ain't exactly a spring chicken. He's 76 years old. So if the, quote, aging leadership class is an issue, it wasn't and it isn't when they're talking about Donald Trump. But if Tucker is game for term limits, then maybe we can come to a sliver of an agreement on something. But then here he goes on another rager against Zelensky. Republicans and conservative hosts have shamelessly aligned themselves with the authoritarian regime of Putin.
If you were a Republican office holder and Zelensky came to Washington, maybe you would for a moment ask him about his current and ongoing war against Christianity in Ukraine. Especially if you were, say, Mitch McConnell or John Cornyn, and a lot of your own voters go to church on Sunday. They might care about that issue. But McConnell and Cornyn didn't mention that. They didn't say a word. You will not hear a word on television tonight about the fact that Zelensky has banned an entire ancient Christian denomination in Ukraine, and then seized churches, and then thrown priests into jail.
Now, if you want to have an intellectual argument about how we spend money on other countries, that's fine. But don't go looking for it on Fox News. This isn't about the money we are spending. It's about the despicable shift to excusing and promoting dictatorships and authoritarianism. Tucker's also upset about supposed religious freedom and persecution in Ukraine. But I haven't heard him make a sound about it happening in other countries. He's just now condemning it, and only when it's Christianity that is threatened. No sympathy for any other minority group or religious group under persecution in other nations. By the way, as reported by the Daily Beast, Ukraine shut down a church that had been discovered as having significant ties to Russia, and even encouraged people to join the Russian army. According to that Daily Beast article, quote, a Kremlin spokesman went so far as to accuse Ukraine of waging a war on the Russian Orthodox Church. So, like a lot of you here on Fox, there's more to that story. But don't bet on Tucker telling you the whole truth or the nuance. That just ain't their style. He ends on how this is all tied back to somehow getting back at Trump, not defending the idea of sovereign nations and democracy, because again, the new conservative love affair with Russia is the hottest new trend on Fox and OAN, and even with sitting members of the House. Why is it that the GOP and these wackos choose the worst hills to die on? Would you ever have imagined in the last 20 years that we would have parts of a, quote, serious political party siding with Russia and Putin? This is who they are. The hypocrisy is part of the deal with them. And while Tucker is no stranger to encouraging authoritarianism, both here and in other countries, don't be surprised when it keeps getting more and more extreme. If the people at Fox had it their way, we'd be living in The Handmaid's Tale, and that's an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.